Everyone, in just a second, I'm going to be introducing to you author RENEE LINNELL, and we're going to be talking about this book. Brand new, came out in October. It's called The Burn Zone. It is a memoir. It is so good. Oh my gosh. And she has all the reviews to prove it on Amazon. I am so happy I finally got to read this. I can't wait to talk to her about it. We're going to have an amazing conversation about how she went into a cult and came out of a cult. And it is a crazy story. So I can't wait to talk to her. Everybody, here is RENEE. Hi everyone, I am so excited today because I am speaking with author RENEE LINNELL, and we are talking about her brand new book, came out in October, called The Burn Zone, and she has a copy of it right there so we can see the cover. There it is. I love that cover. I love that picture of you too. You look like so cool. I don't know. I love that.
Thank you.
Oh, I love this book. And you know what? I was going through your Amazon reviews and I felt the same way that everybody did when they read this. I mean, what a story. What a story. I mean, this is a perfect little memoir you can get through. I love memoirs that are like under 300 pages, around 300 pages. You get through them and it's like really tight and it tells just such a great story. And when I finished this book this morning, was the last chapter, I was like so emotional. So
Oh,
just to see your progress, like from the beginning of the book till the end, it was just crazy. So I'm going to let you talk now and you can tell us all about it.
okay. Where would you like me to start?
Ah, I know. Like, that's why I'm like, I don't know. I'll let you tell. I'm sure you talk about it more than me. But start with, okay, you're young and your dad dies when you're young. First of all, tell the story about your name because
Oh, okay. My
that
name.
just fascinated me.
Okay. Well, and two things just came to mind. One is how you said at the end of the book, you see how far I've come. And I really did want the reader to, it's not just about me, it's about all of us and
Mm,
about I believe now, if we're lucky, life comes along and hits us with a sledgehammer and breaks us apart.
yeah.
And if we learn from it and grow from it, we come out the other side better and stronger and softer and kinder and wiser. And so it really is a story of hope and inspiration for people
Absolutely.
struggling or feel like they won't make it through something terrible to say, I've been there too, and there is a way out.
Yeah.
Um, and then the story of my name is, so my name is RENEE, and my parents tried for 10 years. Am I looking in the right place?
Yes, I can see.
Okay.
Perfect.
Because I'm looking at you and not at the camera. Okay, so my name is RENEE, and my parents tried for 10 years to have children, and they had multiple miscarriages and then a stillbirth, which was a baby girl that they had named RENEE. And when everyone was so devastated that the baby was born dead, my mother, who was very religious and Catholic, kept saying, I feel this overwhelming peace, like something amazing is still going to happen. And I shouldn't be sad and I should trust in God. And then she became pregnant with twins. And they decided on the name Gary for my brother, but they couldn't pick a name for me. And my father was very attached to the name RENEE. And my mother said, but we already had a RENEE. We can't have another one. And
I'm like,
gosh, it might make me, it's going to make me cry. And then
oh,
my father went and got a book of names and he said, look at this. RENEE means reborn.
ah,
And when I heard that story, I knew that I was that first baby girl and that I came into this world for a second and felt the extreme psychic pain of it and left and went to get a companion who was my twin brother to hold my hand through the hard parts in life.
ah. I know. When I read that, I was like, it resonated with me because I was like, yes, of course. Like, I don't know. That story just, and it's at the beginning of the book. And I just felt such a connection to your parents. And, I've been where your mom has been. I have 6 children.
Oh my gosh.
But my fourth child, my daughter Annie, I got pregnant out of I was a single mom with 3 children. So I thought I decided like I should have another one, right? I should be a single mom of 4 children. I was 30 and everybody was like, you need to get an abortion. Like that you need, like you already have 3 kids, like you're not married, you're not, what are you going to do? And I just, one night in the middle of the night, I felt this peace. And I was like, no, have the baby. Like, and it, and everything will be okay. And I ended up marrying her father, having 2 more. Like, so when I read that about your mom, I was like, I know I've been at that like very lonely, dark place where you feel, like you don't have any answers. And then all of a sudden, like everybody around you sad and you aren't sad. You're like, no, this baby is somebody. Like, it'll be okay. And so when I read that, I just got really choked up with it and felt a connection to your mom. And, so.
Well, and I just got goosebumps all over when you were telling me that story, and I believe the goosebumps are truth. But that's from
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
truth. Yeah.
Yeah. And everything that, I mean, I look at you, you are so young. Like, I'm 54, but I know we've all gone through our spiritual journeys and we have so much in common. My mom died of alcoholism in 2011. So when I was reading about what happened to your mom and, I've been there, my dad died when I was 23 and which wasn't as young as you, but also traumatic in its own way. And, so, and then always trying to find, like, why are we here? Why are we here? Why isn't it? I felt like you said at one point in the book, you're like, just tell me. And I have been there. I've been like, I've read the Bible inside and out looking for that sentence that was going to say, this is why you are here. This is it. So I felt you like when you said that, I was like, yes, if we just had the instructions, it would all be very easy, right?
And what I finally realized is very boring, right?
Yeah, right.
Because now I realize the whole fun of the journey is the not knowing and is the faith, right? Which is believing in the unseen and the magic and miracles that appear along the way. And
Yes.
then, as I do say, and I hope it's not a spoiler alert, that I finally found the answer is just love, to love ourselves and love each other.
I love that. I love that you ended the book with that. But let's go through when you in the beginning of the book when I'm reading about this you start at a seminar, right? And the what is her name? It's a weird name. Go ahead.
Well, I changed all the names so that the story was about me and not
Good.
about them.
Okay.
So I named her Lakshmi in the
Okay.
book.
Right. And I was when I was reading about your first time in front of her, right? And you're feeling all this energy. I was like, "Oh my god, that is so cool." Like cuz I don't know what happens really. Like I know something happens, but at first I was like, I would think the same thing you did. Like I would think that was the coolest experience ever, right?
It was. And after a lifetime of searching. And I guess I should say to the viewers that my book is about 7 years in a Buddhist cult, being severely brainwashed. But, it's interesting after watching some of your YouTube videos, I imagine that you probably do get a lot of seekers and searchers. And I think writers
Yeah.
tend to be a little deeper and more introspective. And so we are seeking and searching for more than what we're learning in school or in church. And so for me, and I always felt like the weird kid, which I realize now most of us feel like the weird kid
Right.
because we're all different. And then we all try to blend in, and it makes us feel like we don't fit in. Um, and so not only did I have this incredibly powerful experience of peace and light with her, but I felt like I finally found my tribe, a place where I fit in for the first time ever, because I learned, as we all do from a young age, to hide what makes us different, which is so sad.
Right.
And what made me different was I was psychic and clairvoyant, clairaudient, clairsentient, incredibly sensitive. And so when I would talk about the future, what was going to happen, or I would see auras, or I would talk about beings that were no longer in physical form, messages from people that had passed away, because most of my family died when I was young.
Right.
I not only found out that it made me very weird and ostracized, but it elicited a lot of fear, especially from my mother.
Mm.
So I shut all of that down at a very young age and I became a mean, tough bully.
Right. No, I mean, I so related with you about your mom because my mom wasn't always an alcoholic either. I mean, she grew into it. if you want to say that. And when you described her at one point as like mean and then overwhelmingly nice, I was like, oh my gosh, that was so like my mom could be so mean to me and then turn it around and then you don't even know what hit you. She's being so nice and you're it's shocking. Like you're like, where is I don't understand. Like I was used to that. It's almost like you get used to that woman. And then the
Well,
other
then you
woman.
get guarded, and then you think you did something wrong. I think most children of alcoholics go through this, and
Yeah.
then you close up, and then they start to be loving. So then you open your heart and you become loving back, and then that's right when they come along and slam you. And so then you're all open and gooey and vulnerable, and then you get hit with the attack, and then you close up. And unfortunately, then I chose, and it's common in children of alcoholics to choose romantic relationships with people that are emotionally unavailable, that love you, hate you. So
Yes.
pick these toxic, abusive relationships.
Yes.
And we are conditioned to think that we're the ones that are doing something wrong and that if we spend too much time with someone, they won't love us or they'll get sick of us. And so then we start to become avoidant and we don't want to spend too much time with people and we isolate. It's
Yeah.
so for me, the shattering of the brainwashing and the cult, when I was healing from that, I realized, wow, I don't have to just heal from 7 years of being in a cult. I have to heal from a lifetime of learning that I wasn't okay and not good enough because of my alcoholic mother.
Yeah, and just for everybody out there, like the definition of cult, because it's thrown around a lot. Okay. What because there are a lot and you hear people saying that, but I want to see if you agree. Like I think the definition of a cult is when it's not based on love and it's based on these very adherent rules and everybody else is wrong but we're right and then you get sucked in because you're like I want to be part of the right people. Like right.
Right. Yeah. And there's a lot of shaming if you want to leave or you express that you have a different opinion. Because people, this is one of the big questions I get asked as I'm doing interviews is, what are some of the red flags?
Right.
And it is hard to define, but I say a group that's easy to get into and hard to leave. Like we were told that we would ruin our karma if we left. Um, and where the leader is deified to the point that you can't have the peace or the love or the wisdom without the leader, that you can't do it on your own. You can't walk away and learn to do it on your own,
Right.
that you need the group. And then where the group is right and everyone else is wrong is another big thing. And then for me, it was when they teach you to not trust your own intuition.
Right.
So we were told it was occult forces that were messing with us, and a lot of times in the church, it's Satan. But anytime your intuition comes in and suggests you leave or that it's not good for you, it's some sort of dark force. And it's the same similar parallel in toxic relationships. When you suspect that your partner is cheating on you, and he or she says, "No, I would never do that," and they get you to doubt your own intuition.
Right.
And once we're not relying on our own inner guidance, we're powerless.
Yes. Because I don't, I grew up in an evangelical Christian, okay? But as I got deeper into the church, I actually had to break up with it. Like I went through that and then we talked about like, Abraham Hicks and Esther and she kind of brought me out of it. It was when my mom was dying. I was 47 and I realized that I just hated myself. I started to hate myself because I thought I made poor decisions all the time. And I think that's what they get you to do. Like it's like thinking that you can't make a decision that's going to be right. It's always going to be wrong, right?
Well, and it's interesting because I was raised Catholic, and one day I heard, and so everything for me was sin, and that I was a
Sin.
sinner.
Yes.
Basically, all the pleasures of life and all of my desires were terrible. And one day I read that sin, well, in Spanish means without. And I heard that the true sin is us leaving ourselves, being without our sense of self. And that I realized as I went through this journey, searching and seeking, that we've got to learn to love ourselves and that we're bombarded with messaging from such a young age that we're not okay the way we are and that we have to change to fit in and that we have to be thinner or younger or richer or hide our sexuality or the color of our skin is wrong. And so we betray ourselves on such a deep level. And then we become angry. And then we're not very nice. And then we're judgmental and self righteous and we're mean in traffic.
Right.
And so what I learned is as I started to really accept myself and believe in myself and stop listening to anybody out there that told me I was a sinner or I was bad, I just started to love myself and become happy and then treat myself kindly and do the things that made my heart sing. And then I was so happy that I was kind. And I didn't care if somebody was mean in traffic. I just let them be mean, and
Right.
so I realized I love being, when I love myself and I take care of myself, I'm happy, I'm joyful, and then I go out in the world and I'm kind. And I feel like any religion out there would really want us to just be kind to
Right.
each other,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. And
So
I found it. Oh, I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, so I think the religions get off track when they start, when it comes in the fear and the hatred and the judgment. And
Yeah.
so,
Yeah. I
yeah.
was going to say, like, sometimes I still find, and it's been a while now, but I'll hear a judgment in my head. And then I have to, and then I get like, oh my God, where'd that come from? Like, I still have to talk through it. Like, that's a judgment. Like, you're judging somebody else for something, and
Well,
it's hard.
don't you notice when you're happy or you're in love or something great has happened that you just want everyone else around you to be
Yeah.
happy and then when you're having a bad day, and especially when you're down on yourself for some reason, then everybody's in the way and you're really irritated and they're all jerks. And yeah, so I just, I guess this is a roundabout message of my book, or the moral of my book is that we've got to find a way to embrace what makes us different and to truly love ourselves and to be able to look in the mirror and say you're beautiful. I don't know if any single one of us can do that because all the messaging out there tells us that we're ugly,
Right.
no matter what we look like.
Right.
So,
Absolutely. And so this was your first book. I mean, this is the first time you sat down and wrote this out, right?
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Are you planning on writing any more books?
I am. And what I learned from this book was a catharsis. And I was just writing and writing and writing to get the story out of me so I could heal. And then as I started having the confidence to tell people close to me about what happened, and I started losing some of the shame around it, everybody had the same reaction. You have to write a book. Everybody. And I finally said, you know what? I think I am. I have 700 pages of journals about all of this. And so I learned through this process is when you have something inside of you that you want to birth into the world, a story that's coming, or you have that thought, I should write, to write and write and write and don't judge it and write the same thing over and over again and don't criticize it and don't worry about spelling and punctuation. Just get it out. Like I say, vomit it all out. And the book takes on a life of its own. And so I learned from this process that now I just keep writing and writing and writing, and eventually it will turn into book number two.
And you are so like reading your book, I was like in awe of you. You're so talented and you're so beautiful and you've done so many amazing things. Like things I couldn't even dream of, just traveling by yourself all over the world and so brave. And before I let you go, I just wanted you to tell everybody, like, even as a little girl, like your dad like taught you how to be out in the ocean, right? Like you were not afraid of the ocean.
Right.
And to me, like as a parent, I'm like, that would be the most terrifying thing. Like we'd go to the beach and I'd keep all the kids back but he taught you how to not be afraid. And I found that I was like, wow, I just had like and like wow, what a guy, that he could like teach his kids how to not be afraid. And what a gift to you.
It was a huge gift. And I think that that really came from him being in World War II for 5 invasions. And he realized life can be over in a moment.
Mm.
And so he taught us to trust our own intuition and to be cautious and aware of our surroundings. But then he did believe that we would make the right decisions. And he really wanted us to live and be risk takers because he said, you just never know which moment is going to be your last.
Yeah. When you were going through this, like, when you were coming out of it, could you feel him at all? Like,
Uh,
yeah.
I feel him a lot. And my mother, actually, as I was writing the book. So my mother always shows herself in rainbows, I've noticed. And my father appears in dolphins. And my mother's and my relationship was so difficult. And as I was writing the book, I would allude to it, but I wouldn't really, I would always apologize for her. And my editor was so great. She said, Renee, really have to take the reader through the experiences with your
Mm.
mother. And so as the parts about my mother became more raw, um, I started trying to talk to her and say, do you mind? I mean, it's so terrible. And and I would find rainbows everywhere. I opened a jar of Nutella and there was a rainbow in there. Or
Oh,
I'd go brush my teeth and there'd be a rainbow in the sink.
oh my God.
And I finally could feel her saying, you know what, it is terrible and it is drama, but it really makes for a good story and some great sympathy points. So put it all in there. So
Wow.
yeah.
I know, I understand because, there are things in my past, and I feel like when I tell people about either one of my parents in a negative, like if I say, oh, my mom like drank really, I always like try to minimize it. Like I was trying to like, yeah, she had this little problem. Like it was, like I almost feel like it's betraying. But I
Yeah.
do love that you came out, like you did say it, like you were just like, this is it, and this is the truth. Where I think like we try to just like, I don't want to hurt her, and she's not here, but I'm trying to protect her. Then maybe that's the word. Like you try to protect them in a way.
Well, and I also think that deep down we're all love. And so once they transition to non-physical, they go back
Mm,
to love. And so then when we interact with them on a basis of pure love. And so all that crap is technically gone. And so, and I love how Carolyn Myss says in Anatomy of the Spirit, she talks about woundology and how so many of us begin to identify with our wounds and then become like cult survivor or cancer survivor and drag it with us all along, or daughter of an alcoholic or abused child. And so I think that, deep down we realize we don't want those labels and we don't want to carry those wounds. And so while it happened and it makes for an interesting story, it no longer has to identify us. And so I think that's why on a deep level we don't want to say the bad things that happened in the past, because we really realize that they've transitioned to non-physical, they're pure love. We've gained the wisdom from whatever happened, and now we get to be us, stronger, wiser, better.
I love that. I could feel that. I really could. Because I was like, you're right. Maybe I'm not. Maybe it's just that now whatever I feel is so loving,
Yeah, she's just
you
mom
know?
that loves the crap out of you,
Right.
right?
Yeah. So when you say something contradictory to that, it's almost not real
Yeah,
anymore.
you feel the untruth in your
Yeah.
body. Yeah.
I just love you, Renee.
Oh, I love you too. I'm just sitting here looking at how beautiful you are.
Oh,
So
thank you. Well,
fast.
everybody go get this book. Okay, I'm going to put the link below. Please go get it. It is amazing. I can't wait to see what you write next. And you know what? I want to hear about tomorrow. Like, I'm like, I'll be there with you. I mean,
Oh,
it'll be
thank
so
you.
much fun. And I love your history, your story. I know it's going to help so many people. And when I got to the end of this book, because I was kind of telling people as I was reading it, I'm like, then this happened and this, and then at the end I'm like, oh my God, it's all okay. It's all okay, and that's what you said. It's about hope, and it is all okay. So thank you so much for putting your story on pages.
Thank you so much for inviting me to share it.
Yes, and anytime, you know where to find me. So,
Okay.
anyway, all her links will be listed below. Thank you, everyone, for watching us, and happy writing too.
Thank you, Michelle.
Okay, bye bye. Okay,
Bye.
well, I knew that was going to be emotional. I can just tell in her book because everything just felt so real to me. But she is even more beautiful and more radiant than I even imagined. And I am so happy that I got to meet her. Go get this book. You are going to love it. I can't wait for her next book. She just, I mean, just looking at her, you could almost feel like how powerful she is. And thank you so much, Renee. Hit like if you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching, everyone.